Welcome to another episode of AI in Veterinary Medicine. Today, I have the pleasure of having Emil here. Emil, thank you so much for joining. How are you today?
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm doing great today. Always excited to chat about AI,
Yeah.
especially in VetMed.
Yes. I was chatting with you briefly before this podcast, and you have a pretty interesting story. And I wanted you to share it with our audience here as we progress through the podcast. So you are a veterinarian, but you've turned yourself into an AI engineer. So share that story a little bit about it, and how did you get to where you are?
Yeah, so briefly, I went to vet school, and in about 2020, I was coming to the end, and I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. I knew I was not really a great fit for clinical practice. It just wasn't what I gained a lot of fulfillment from. And I said, okay, I like two things. I like anesthesia and I like data. I don't know why. I can sit in front of data. I had learned to
Yeah.
code a little bit in R. I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a PhD. And so I took a PhD at UW-Madison, comparative biomedical sciences, with a minor in statistics because for some reason I just thought, ooh, more math sounds fun.
More math sounds fun. Yeah.
Uh, I got really hooked on machine learning. A lot of my work originally was in dairy cattle, and then
Good.
kind of towards the end of my uh, PhD, I transitioned over to do a little bit more with dogs and cats. And from there, when I was finishing up and looking for jobs, I kind of scoured around, came across a bunch of different things in AI, and really fell into how can we help veterinarians, and especially how can we help companion animal veterinarians when clearly they're overburdened with the needs to provide care. And
Yeah.
so I actually was looking around and I came across some job postings at Mars
Okay.
and connected with some people there and ended up working there now as an AI engineer. So
What a journey. I think we could have a podcast just about this experience because I don't think it's that common, or I think so. But I think this is super interesting. So I think a couple of follow-ups here is, Mars is huge, right? And we know what they do for the pet industry, but I would love to know, how what are the things that you can share about, the team or the department essentially that you're working on in Mars. I'm sure there's a lot of departments in the AI field, for veterinary medicine, but wanted to get your thoughts on your specific role there, or your specific projects that you found interesting and that you're working on.
yeah, so I work specifically on the next generation technology team, and we're headquartered within pet care and kind of the product that I would say we're most known for, and it's just kind of been made live recently. It's called Rapid Read, and it's an
Mm.
AI radiology tool. So it's available through Antech imaging services, and it provides AI overread with the ability to also send on studies to
Got it.
radiologists at Antech. So it's a
Got
really
it.
cool tool. We're really excited to have it out, and you know, I'm
Yeah.
really excited to be a part of the team, and hopefully
Yeah.
we can help veterinarians. I know myself, looking at radiographs was always super hard, and
Yeah.
my partner, she's also a veterinarian, and every once in a
Okay.
while she's like, "Oh, what does this radiograph say?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I work with them on the AI side. Don't ask me to read them in real life." It's crazy
Yeah.
hard. We have specialists for that for a
Yeah,
reason.
I'm
So
sure. I'm sure. That's super interesting because, as we were chatting before, we've been focusing on like the AI scribe of things, but not really on the radiology side of things. And I know that that's like a completely different world, also similar to like image diagnostics and AI diagnostics. And how can you essentially figure out as fast as you can any preventative care that you can give a pet with AI based on symptoms that you've seen, or literally based on images that some tests have done, and you can draw conclusions from it. So it's actually an area that I've been trying to get myself a little bit more familiar with, and wanted to get your thoughts on, specifically in radiology, or in the diagnostic side of things. What can you share about this area? Where do you think we can go? Because we're just getting started, right, with AI and with the rise of ChatGPT. We were chatting before about pre-ChatGPT and post-ChatGPT. So wanted to get your thoughts in terms of that other field, that can definitely help the pet from a preventative and diagnostic side of things.
yeah, so I think the number one thing I always try to take away from like AI, it's we're using it as another diagnostic, right? It's still really dependent on the veterinarian to be there to understand what they're doing. And it's a tool in their toolkit. It doesn't
Yeah.
solve everything. It's not a blanket thing, but we know that we can provide rapid results and help the veterinarians actually interpret what they're seeing on the radiograph. And we're always looking at ways to improve that. Um, so I think AI diagnostics in general are a really exciting part of the future of veterinary medicine, but
Yeah.
more in this way of augmenting the clinician and
Yeah.
allowing them to, focus on different things or help guide their attention to specific markers, things like that. Like, can we just make the doctor have more information and more tools to be a better doctor? Because honestly, AI is not replacing anyone, and it's not
Yeah.
going to anytime in the
Yeah.
foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
doctors are probably, if all the doctors are replaced by AI, we're all probably out of a job a while ago. So, but
Yeah.
can we, I mean, I think you probably share some of the same feelings.
Yeah.
It's how can we help doctors who already don't have enough time in their
Yeah.
day? How can we help them focus on the parts of their job, one that they like,
Yeah.
two that they're good at?
Yeah.
Like, I,
Precisely.
I don't know. I've written plenty of papers in my PhD. I've written plenty of medical record notes. And I honestly have to say, not one time did I write one and think, wow, this is the most fulfilling part of my day. It was always, it's something you did and you have
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But can we reduce the amount of effort
Yeah.
people have to take, and can we provide them more information? So that's
Yeah.
kind of how I see, AI and VetMed as an augmentation and an
Yeah.
extension of the clinic's tools.
No, I really like how you put it, and it's some of the feedback that I've also heard from other doctors. And the key word here is augmenting. The whole point is augmenting. I have had a conversation that I had with a doctor where we were joking that it's like, imagine if you're taking your dog or your cat or your pet to the veterinarian, and then you know a robot with a screen meets you. Like that's not the point here. Like the whole point of why you go to the veterinarian is to see the human connection that the veterinarian can give you, and the care that they'll provide to your pet, and the attention that they will provide in connecting with that relationship, human pet. And so if you can give tools to the doctor to be better at their job, that's awesome. But you're not gonna go to a veterinarian to diagnose your dog with a computer. Like that's not the point. That's not what you take your doctor to your dog to the veterinarian. So I really like the whole augmenting. It's a keyword that I've been repeatedly using as well. And yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you there. In that line, I wanted to ask very briefly, like, what do you think? And I know that we're in the very early stages, and some doctors have different opinions on this, but as we adopt more and more AI in this field and in other fields, but particularly in a healthcare field like the veterinary medicine, where do you think regulation is going to come in? Where you think there's some limitations in terms of, how much can the AI do? How little can the AI do? What if the AI messes up? From to tell you a little bit about my experience, we always tell people whenever they use Vetric or other AI tools is always double check. We're here to help you out, but you should always double check and you should always review the things, because in the end it's just an augmentation tool. But people might take this for granted, and that's when regulation might come in, because it did these things and it wasn't supposed to do the things, but then regulation might hinder innovation. So what do you think about these things, if you've talked with colleagues about this, with AI and VetMed?
So I'll say right now, I'm not an expert on the
Yeah,
legal and the regulation side of
that's it.
things, but what I can say is I think you hinted at a big part of early AI adoption, which is human in the loop.
Yeah,
Like at the end of the day, there's a couple things. One is early adoption of AI, where humans are able to verify, visualize, and at the end of the day, the legal diagnostic status, actually making a diagnosis of an animal rep, is sits with the veterinarian. So
yeah,
they have the end role, no matter what we give them to actually make a diagnosis. So we obviously have, the important aspect of we need to provide quality, accurate diagnosis,
yeah,
diagnostic support tools. But I want to make that clear is that the veterinarian is the end all be all and stops with them, because they are the expert,
yeah,
especially with that patient.
yeah,
Diagnostics only take into one thing. We're really depending on the clinician to take whatever tool we give them and use that as one part of their toolbox. So I think, you know, that on the kind of what can we do in the regulation space, I think that's probably something we'll have to address down the road for sure.
yeah,
And partially that will be on a, entity by entity basis.
yeah, yeah,
There's obviously a lot of rules within the human side that we don't have in animal healthcare, but I think we do a good job of, you know, following standards really well. We actually look to and model ourselves after human things to kind
Hmm.
of set
Hmm.
those standards internally.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
obviously we don't have the same FDA requirements for
Yeah.
all things, but we I'm really proud of actually how we roll tools out. I mean, you know, personally at Mars, we always have specialists involved in the loop signing off on everything, making sure
Mhm.
it's up to our quality of standards. We
Yeah.
want to
Precisely.
benchmark and make sure that, at the end of the day, it's a quality tool. We want to make a better world for pets. Like
Mhm. Yeah.
that's a huge part of it. And that's something I'm really proud to be a part of too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that makes complete sense. I wonder, a little bit off topic here, but do you have other colleagues that are also veterinarian that also transition into like artificial intelligence or like this more technical computer sciencey a role? Because the reason why I ask is I think you offer a unique perspective where you always need to have specialists and you always need to have the veterinarian in the loop. But if you can have them in the loop at the same time developing like you, that you have both knowledge, I think it provides a paramount experience in terms of how this stuff should be built and the things that you should take care of, because you have both experiences. Wonder if you have other colleagues that are like you in this experience realm, or yeah.
yeah, I mean, so I have some research colleagues from school, and I've worked with different veterinarians who are involved in it. I'm trying to. There are some people who specialize in different parts of, I'll say,
Yeah.
tech in VetMed. Maybe it's
Yeah.
not exactly AI. Some of them work at Mars. Some of them work, at IDEX and all the different companies. And I
Yeah.
think we all do a great job. And it's probably one of the great things about like LinkedIn, where people can kind of see what's going on, keep
Yeah.
connected.
Yeah.
Um, I will say that a big role of what I do, like, and what I see myself or what I can provide to the profession,
Yeah.
is the ability to translate back and forth between
Yeah.
clinician and engineer.
Yes.
That's a huge role because a lot of times things that each side takes for granted as this is fairly common sense,
Yeah.
it gets lost in the middle. And it's not because people don't have good intentions.
Yeah.
Uh, it just, you don't speak the same language every day
Exactly.
necessarily. So maybe we need that chat GPT from vet to engineer at times. So when that model comes out, we'll have to get that up and running. But until now, I have that as a job to do. And I love it. To be honest, it's really exciting.
Yeah.
I never know as much as the specialists I interact with, and it's so awesome to learn from them about different things and then go back and try to download that into our development processes. And, honestly, the role and the way I get to interact, it teaches me a lot more about both sides, the clinic and then, the actual engineering.
Yeah, I think that liaison between the two roles and the language translation is so important. And speaking about that, and I know we're almost out of time here, I'm gonna link with this podcast, the post and the picture that you had shared the other day on LinkedIn about clinical agents using large language models, LLMs. For our audience, you've seen the other episodes where we talked about LLMs. We're not going to get too much in detail about this right now, but I did want to get a general sense of that article that you wrote, that post that you wrote, in terms of um, where do you see that intersection with the different types of tools that exist with large language models and agents and the different prompts and the different providers. And so you wrote a lot about like the schema and the connections between all of them. And it would be a good understanding if you could maybe distill that a little bit in simpler words, or try to do the best way at explaining at a high level, what you mean by those things. And for those interested, we can definitely have Emil coming here, do a deep dive into the tech side of things. But for now, if you could share a little bit into what you were thinking from a not so technical perspective, I think that would be good.
Yeah, so fundamentally, I think that there's so much information that, ChatGPT or OpenAI, I think is, the one everyone
Yeah,
knows. So I'll just use
yeah,
that as a blanket
yeah,
statement.
yeah,
You can wrap that in. You get so much just by, calling out to an API or typing into the chat. But what that doesn't have access to is any previous information, any distinct clinical information.
right.
So all these buckets of knowledge that sit there, specific like protocols within your clinic, um, you know, medical knowledge that can be queried against and we can ask questions to. All of these things like aren't actually included. So probably the end uses of LLMs in practice, they need some backing of additional knowledge. And understanding how the schema connects is going to be complex, and the integrations itself are going to be super, rewarding but challenging. So I think having that conversation and thinking about it was kind of what prompted me to make that
Yeah.
post and understand, a lot of it's going to be driven by what's accessible and what's usable. So I think it's really interesting, and I think we'll be having the conversation about it for quite a while, and that's
Oh
that's
yeah.
exciting.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And just to add to that, I think what I'm hearing you say and what you're alluding to is, it's good to leverage OpenAI and ChatGPT, but as you get into more focused discipline and to more focused knowledge about your particular case and medical history about your dogs and your clinic, that's when you need to access private data, the specific knowledge that you and only you or your clinic has. And so how do you distinct yourself and differentiate yourself from being able to access whatever else there in public, in books, but then combine it essentially with the knowledge that you have internally so that you can provide an even better experience that the AI will understand even further and have even more context for you to be able to provide more focused and more accurate responses. So I could go and talk with you, I think, for 2 hours just on this topic because it's something that me and my co-founder were also doing before. So really, really interested in this particular field. But look, Emil, I think we're almost done here. I just wanted to get some parting words from you for other veterinarians, maybe even young veterinarians. What is your advice in terms of trying to get started? Some people are hesitant, some people are afraid, some people don't know where to start. Any quick tips that you could share about, hey, this technology is coming, and the faster that you can adopt and the faster that you can learn about it, the better. What can you share?
So I think one of the things is, my gut thing is jump in head first. But I think the easier thing to do might be, if you haven't played around with ChatGPT, start there, see what you can
Yeah,
get out of it. Don't
yeah,
have to put private information into there. That's okay.
yeah,
Um, Start there. Maybe figure out what you can use it for in your daily life to save you some time. Like, can you use it to draft an email? Like, these little things add up. And then if you can find a clinical, obviously like we have the rapid read that is accessible to clients, that's one thing, or
yeah,
summarizing through PIMS, whatever your option is, take it at a small bite. You don't have to use it all at once. Integrate it a little bit at a time. you know just learn about it. It's
yeah.
interesting, and it's going to hopefully make you have an easier time at your job. It's going to help you be a better vet. That's my end goal. I hope that everything we're doing here leads to a better medicine.
Take care. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I'm really looking forward to with this. And I think you don't have to do it all in day one, but get started with something small and see what you can use it to add value to your life with.
For sure. Thank you so much, Emil. I really appreciate you and I really appreciate the time. So until next time, thank you so much.
Thank you.